Why are so many people moving to Florida? With around 1,200 people moving to Florida every single day, there's got to be a reason. I moved to Florida from Michigan many years ago, so I can speak to why someone would want to live here. Today, I'll be addressing several reasons why people would want to move to Florida, but the last one might surprise you or even upset some of you, so be sure to stick around for that one. Before we answer why people are moving to Florida, let's look at where they're coming from. Well, New Yorkers seem to love the Sunshine State more than any other state, with 91,000 of them moving to Florida for the year in a recent study. Californians were next with over 50,000 people moving to Florida, followed by New Jersey, Georgia, Texas, all rounding out the top 5. Over 250,000 people moved to Florida from abroad during this same year. It's important to note that it's not just retirees that are moving to Florida. While a Wallet Hub study named Florida as the #1 state to retire in, another study revealed that millennials are driving the surge for those moving to Florida these days. This study noted that they're moving to Florida for largely the same reasons as retirees, so let's get on to some of those reasons. Now, forgive me for being Captain Obvious, but weather is one of the primary reasons to move to Florida. Sunshine is a cure for so many things, and we've got plenty of that here in Florida. I once heard that Florida averages between 230 and 250 days of sunshine each and every year. Now, I haven't actually counted those days myself, but I can attest to the seemingly never-ending clouds that seemed so pervasive when I lived up in Michigan, New York, Maryland, and North Carolina. Now, I love my time in each of these states. They were wonderful places with great memories, but they just don't shine like Florida does. Sunshine helps battle depression and helps provide vitamin D for the body, which has all sorts of health benefits. I suppose shoveling snow does have some health benefits from exercise, but I'll get my exercise with a walk, a run, or even a swim on the beach all day long over that. Joint pain isn't an issue for me just yet, but I hear Yankees that have moved here to the Sunshine State absolutely lament the joint pain that they endured before moving here to Florida. Whatever you like to do, being able to do it year-round is a huge benefit. Florida is not just beaches and theme parks like so many think of it as. Much of Florida is really quite rural. Florida has 11 national parks and 175 state parks, some amazing freshwater springs, and is 14th in the entire United States when considering the amount of public land. The Florida Keys kind of speak for themselves, and North Florida has all sorts of caverns and the rural feel of some northern states, so there's really a lot to do here. Because of all this rural land, there is room for growth. As such, new construction has boomed here in Florida, which is a big deal for that whole supply and demand thing we learned about back in grade school. Plus, new construction often comes with financial incentives, often with lower interest rates or just plain cash if you aren't using financing. In cities where there isn't room for growth, these incentives just simply aren't available. Before I get to a reason that people are moving to Florida that may not be quite as obvious, if you're finding value here, show your support for this channel by hitting the like and the subscribe buttons. And if you'd like more content like this, hit that little notification bell. The cost of living in Florida has increased in recent years, but as of this recording, Central Florida, where I live and work, is right around the national average for cost of living. Of course, it's higher down in South Florida on the beaches and in big cities, but much of Florida outside of these areas is really quite affordable. Plus, Florida's economy is booming. One study I read noted an 86% increase in corporate headquarters established in Florida for the year, more of an increase than any other state in the entire United States. Jacksonville, Tampa, and Miami are all in the top 10 U.S. cities gaining the most corporate headquarters. Florida is generally regarded as having a real light regulatory and business-friendly government. The corporate tax rate of only 5.5% allows for plenty of growth opportunities for Florida's businesses to thrive. Keeping with the cost of living theme, Florida has no state income tax. States like California, Hawaii, and New Jersey are double-digit income tax states. But even 5 to 8%, like New York at I think 8.8%, is a lot of money skimmed off your paycheck and is yet another reason why so many people are moving to Florida. One study by U.S. News & World Report noted that Florida had the #1 ranked economy in the United States. It also noted that Florida was #2 for job growth and #7 for overall employment. Those are pretty solid numbers. While Florida is not perfect, if you combine those items with that weather, it really helps to explain why so many people are moving to Florida these days. Speaking of economics, if you've got real estate needs anywhere at all in Florida, either leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you, or simply pick up the phone and give us a call. Here in Central Florida, where I live and work, we've got all sorts of tech, we've got medical and administrative type jobs. but the hospitality and of course jobs down at the attractions are a real big deal too. Those of you that have never been here might think of Florida as a southern state, but that's just not the case. Yes, Florida is about as, it's about as south as any state in the continental United States, but that does not mean we're southern in any way at all. Grits, cornbread, and sweet tea are much more common north of here, say up in Georgia, Tennessee, or the Carolinas than they are here in Florida. We've got our own sort of accent here too, or maybe we just don't have an accent at all. I'm really not sure. It's sort of a mix between that New York accent and that Tennessee and Georgia twang, with a hint of that Massachusetts caw sound. You'd think we're a southern state, but we're really not. So moving to Florida does not mean you're having to learn a whole new way to talk. You can be yourself and fit in just fine here. Speaking of diversity, Florida has a very diverse population. Florida's proximity to Puerto Rico and Cuba provides for a huge Hispanic population for the state as a whole. But tons of tourists flock here from all around the world, many of whom end up appreciating our culture and buying homes and taking up residence right here in Florida. This diversity has quite an impact on the overall culture here in Florida, and it's really in a good way. Florida is generally known as a red state, which I'm sure about half of you really won't like, and I'm sorry about that. There's no political stance being taken here either way on my part. But as I record this today, we've got a Republican governor, and Florida tends to vote conservatively. Locals, does Florida have a red or a blue feel to you? Put your comments below so that we can all benefit here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.